Good morning, boys and girls. It's Monday, September 21st, and for math lesson today, I want to go over estimating sums. Last week, you guys worked on which will help you to estimating. Your objective for today is to use compounding to estimate sums. Sum, you hear that word, all that means is they're wanting you to find the answer to an addition problem. Okay, so sum means answer to an addition problem. Now, as we're going over this video or watching this video today, you guys need to be following along in your Go Math Volume 1 textbook. Have a pencil going and listening and writing at the same time. Now, we're starting on page 107 in your book. Now, I've already started some work on this word problem, and you see over here the letters I, P, A, C. Now, when you hear me say IPAC, this is what I'm referring to. And you will hear me say this a lot the next week or two, or throughout the rest of the year, is because we will be working on word problems a lot in 3rd grade. Now, let's go over what these letters stand for. The I means information. You want to go back in the word problem and find the important information. Sometimes it may even mean eliminating information you don't need. Okay? The next one is plan. We want to quickly get an idea in our head of what we need to do to solve the problem. There may be keywords in there that tell you what to do. There may be keywords in there that tell you this is a multi-step problem. Okay? The next one is to answer. And we always want to show our work, don't erase anything. And then the last one is check. Estimating can also help us check our work. Okay, so let's go ahead and read this first problem and see why I've circled and underlined some of this information. The table shows how many dogs went to Pine Lake Dog Park during the summer months. About how many dogs went to the park during June and August. Okay, so I've underlined the question because I need to know what they're asking me. That's very important. And June and August is circled because that is the months I need to look at in my table. So let's go over here. We're also going to circle June and August in our table. This just helps me focus on what information is needed, not this extra information. Okay? Another important word that you will hear a lot for rounding and estimating word problems is about. So when you hear the word about, that means you're going to estimate. Okay? So you can estimate to find about how many or about how much. An estimate is a number close to an exact amount. Okay? So when you hear about or estimate, that means they're wanting you to find a number close to it, not the exact answer. So you need to make sure that you're rounding, like we're going to practice today, or using compatible numbers. Hold on, let me get the lights. There we go. Okay, so one way to estimate is to use compatible numbers. So let's look at that example first. They've already written the numbers for us that we're using, which is 432 and 489. Now, these numbers over here are not rounded. We call them compatible because if I see the end is a 25 and a 75. These are compatible because 25 and 75 can easily be added in our heads to make 100. If you think of quarters, like money, 1 quarter plus 3 quarters equals $1. Okay? So they're compatible because it's easy to do in our head. That's what that means. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly rounded like we've practiced all last week, but it just has to be some numbers that you can do in your head easily and are close to the real number. Okay? So as you can see, 425 is still really close to 432. 475 is still close to 489. Now I can quickly add these up. Don't forget to carry. We have a 1 plus 4 plus 4. 900. So, about 900 dogs went to Pine Lake Dog Park during June and August. Okay? Now if we were going to find the exact sum, we should get a number that's close to 900. So let's see. 2 plus 9 is 11. Make sure you carry. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 8 is 12. We need to carry again. 1 plus 4 is 5, and 5 plus 4 is 9. Now I can see that these two numbers are pretty close, so that also tells me, okay, I did a good job because I added correctly. My answer makes sense. Okay. What other compatible numbers could you have used? Okay. Well, if my number is 432, I could have easily done 430, and let's see, 489 is close to about 470, and the reason I'm using 70 instead of 80 or 90 is because a 7 and a 3 makes a 10. Okay, 7 and 3 are friendly numbers, you could say, because they're easy to make a 10. 10 is always easy to add. And we still get 900. Okay? So they're not necessarily rounded because 489 would round to 490, but they are compatible because 3 and 7 go together pretty well. They're easy to add in our head. Okay? So we could have used 430, 470, and I'm sure you can come up with more. Maybe 490, or we could say 500 and 430. Those are close, and they're compatible because they're easy to do in our head. Okay? All right, let's go to number 2. There's that word again, about. So that means they want us to estimate. They don't want the exact answer. About how many dogs went to the park during July and August? What compatible numbers could you use to estimate? So again, estimate and about are keywords for not the exact answer. You want something that's close. Okay? So for July, I'm going to look back up in my chart. I have 317. Okay? And then August. There's July. August was 489. Okay? So we don't really have to know how to round. We just need to know what is close to this. What is close to 317 and 489 that go together well? Well, I know that 489 is really close to 490, so I'm going to use that again. And since I see a 9, I'm thinking in my head, what plus 9 would give me 10? Because 10 is always easy to carry and add because it ends in a 0. So I'm going to go ahead and make this 310. It is still close to 317, and it makes sense because 10 plus 90 is easy to do in my head. So 4 plus 3 plus 1 would be 8. 800. Okay, so there are some examples of compatible numbers we could use to estimate. 310, 490. Okay, let's say maybe we want to do 325 and 475. Again, we see the 25 and 75, that makes 100. Let's see what we get. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 1 is 8. So we get the same answer. So let's go ahead and add that. 325 and 475. Those are compatible numbers. So notice I put 25 and 75 because those added to 100. They made nice, easy zeros on the end. And same thing here, 10 and 90. They add up to 100, so it makes your number nice and even and easy to add up in your head. Okay? Now let's go ahead and see what our real answer would be to see if we're close. Okay, so I'm just going to add up these numbers over here real quick. 7 plus 9 is 16. Make sure you carry. 8 plus 1 plus 1 is 10. We carry again. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 1 is 8. 806. Now look how close that is to our estimates that we had. That's what you want. That way you know your answer makes sense and you didn't make a mistake somewhere. Okay, now we're going to flip to the other page. And this is another way to estimate, and that is by using rounding, which we went over last week. Now, as you notice down here, when you get to the problems in your book, you're going to have to do both. You're going to have to know how to use compatible numbers and how to round. Okay? So rounding, remember those place value rules. It says first find the place to which you want to round. Round both numbers to the same place. So that's important. If you decide that you want to round to the hundreds place, then you need to do it to both. If you want to round to the tens place, then you need to do it to both of the numbers. The greatest place value of 432 and 489 is the hundreds. So let's go ahead and round each number to the nearest hundred. Okay? So 432, we find the hundreds place and look next door. If it's less than 5, then we round it down. Okay? So that means, well, it's between 400 and 500. So I want to round down to 400. And that's already been done for us. Okay? Now 489, I'm just going to go over, even though the answer is already there, how you round it. So we find the place and look next door. It's an 8. Now since it's greater than 5 next door, we round up. Okay? Well, we need to round up to the next 100. The next 100 would be 500 because 489 is between 400 and 500. Okay? So the 8 tells us we need to round up, so we would round up to 500. Now we can estimate. We're going to quickly add these rounded numbers, 400 plus 500. Easy to do in our head, and that's what you want, 900. Now we can add real quick the real numbers to see how close it is to our estimated answer. 9 plus 2 is 11. Don't forget to carry your 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. 8 plus 4 is 12. We can't put 12 down here, so we have to just put the 2 and carry the 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. 921. It is close to our estimate, and that's what you want. Okay? Now let's go down here. We're going to do some practice together. There will be some points in the video where I want you to pause and work some of these out on your own. So just make sure you're paying attention on what the directions are saying and what I'm asking you to do, okay? So compatible numbers, remember they don't have to be rounded. They don't necessarily have to end in a 0, but they just need to be easy to add in our head. They've already changed 23 to 25. So if we're thinking of quarters, if this is 25 cents, then we would have 50 cents for 2 quarters, then 75 cents for 3 quarters, and $1 or 100 cents for 4 quarters. Okay? And the reason I'm saying this because if I see 47 it is going to be really close to the next quarter, which is 50. So I'm going to go ahead and do 50 plus 25, since they already gave me that. And I know that that would be 75. So that's an example of compatible numbers. They didn't round 23. They just made it a 25 because it's close. And we can easily add it to 50. Okay, now rounding. Since we go to the hundreds place, we're going to round to the nearest hundred. They've already given us the top one, but let's go ahead and go over our rules just for practice. So if we're rounding to the hundreds place, we start in the hundreds place. Look next door. 0 through 4, we want to round down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put a little down arrow because that's going to remind me. But now you need to know, what does this number come in between? It comes between 300 and 400. So if I'm rounding down, I want to round down to the 300. Okay, let's do those same steps for the next number. Rounding to the nearest hundred, so we start in the hundreds place. Look next door. 5 or more, we want to round up. So since this is a 9, greater than 5, we want to round up this time. Okay? Now, since this first digit is a 4, I know it's got to be between 400 and 500. I don't want to go down to 400 because it's closer, really close to 500. So that will be our number we use next. Okay, and now these are really easy to add up. I have zeros across the board. Now all I need to do is add the 3 and the 5. 800. Okay, now I want you guys to pause and try to do numbers 3 and 4 in your book. The directions say to use rounding or compatible numbers to estimate the sum. Notice over here, we didn't find the real sum, we just estimated. Okay, so go ahead and pause, and I want you to do in the blue boxes, rounding or estimating. Okay, now if you're unpausing now, it's okay if when I show you what I did, your answer is not the same, because we could use different numbers. Not everybody will have to use the same numbers when you're rounding or doing compatible numbers. So just make sure that your answer is close to mine, and if it is, then you did a good job. Okay, now I'm going to use compatible numbers on this because I see 21, which is really close to 20, and 18, which is really close to 20. So I'm going to do 420 and 220. $640. Now if you used rounding, it would have been 400 plus 200. Okay, the next one, which is 600. Okay, on this one I'm going to round because I see 69 and 80. That just means there's nothing really close that makes it compatible, so I want to go ahead and round to the nearest 100. 3, and I look next door, it's a 6, so that tells me I need to round up. This is between 300 and 400, so I want to round up to 400. Okay, hopefully by now you don't have to do all these steps, but if you still need to, that's okay too. Go to the hundreds place, look next door. It is higher than 5, so again we're going to round up. 480 is between 400 and 500, so I want to round up to 500. That would make it 900. Okay, now again, if you didn't use the same numbers as me and you got a different answer, that's okay. Your number just needs to be close to 900. Okay, let's do a couple more. 27 and 78. I'm thinking of money already because like we went over up here, 25, 50, 75, $1. Those are all compatible because they are easy to make 100. So let's take 27, we're going to change it to 25. 78 is really close to 75. And I know that these two go together really well because they make 100. Or 1/4 plus 3/4 makes $1. Okay. So that would be compatible numbers that we used. Okay. Number 6, 267 plus 517. Now on this one, I want you to go ahead and add the real number and do the estimate because I want you to notice how close your answers are to each other. Okay, I see 267 and 517. I'm just going to go ahead and round on this one. And since it goes to the hundreds place, I'm going to round to the nearest hundred. 6 tells me to round up, so this would go up to 300. 5, and I look next door. This is less than 5, so that tells me to round down to 500. Okay, so my estimate was 800. Now let's see if my real sum means add, the answer to an addition problem. Let's see if my sum is close to my estimate. Okay, we got 800. 7 plus 7 is 14. Make sure you carry that 1. We can't put it down there next to it. 1 plus 6 plus 1 is 8. And 2 plus 5 is 7. 784 is very close to 800. It's only 16 away. So that means we estimated pretty good and then we added correctly, or we should have, because I know my answer makes sense. It's reasonable because my estimate is close to it. Okay. 2 more. 465. I'm going to go ahead and probably do compatible numbers again because I see 78 and 65. 65 is close to 50 and 78 is close to 75. So I can think of quarters again. Again, you don't have to use these same numbers, but I'm going to go ahead and just show you another way to use compatible numbers again. So 50 cents and 75 cents. So let's think about that. 2 quarters and 3 quarters. 2 plus 2 is $1. So if I have 1 more quarter, that'd be $1.25. So 125. 4 plus 1 is 5. 525. Now let's go ahead and add the real numbers to see what we get. 5 plus 8 is 13. 6 plus 1 is 7. 7 plus 7 is 14. 1 plus 4 would be 9. Oh, I forgot. Big mistake. So 4 plus 4 is 8. Plus 1 is 9. 925. Okay, now see how I actually adding both helped me to realize that my estimate was wrong and I made a mistake there. Now that could be the same thing for your estimate. If you had gotten 925 for your estimate, but then for your answer you got 543, then you would have been way off, and then it would help you see that you made a mistake. Okay? Let's do this last one, and then I'm going to let you do some word problems on the back page on your own. And then we'll go on to our assignment. Okay? I'm going to round on this one. Again, we're all the way in the hundreds place, so I want to round to the hundreds. 2 is your hundreds digit. And I want to look next door. 7 is greater than 5, so I want to round up. 278 would round up to 300. Okay, find the hundreds, look next door. 6, so I'm going to round up again. So if you're thinking, okay, this is in the 300s already, which 100 would come next. Well, let's skip count by hundreds. If you're still not sure, you would say 100, 200, 300, 400 comes next. So you should round up to 400 because it's the next one after the 300s. So I add real quickly. I get 700. I'm going to add my real numbers to see if I make a mistake somewhere, or maybe I don't. 8 plus 9 is 17. 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 plus 6 is 14. 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay, so I got 547. Does that look close, or did I make a mistake? Well, 547 isn't really that close, so let's go back and see if I made a mistake. 3 plus 2 is 5. Oh, I did make a mistake, guys. I forgot to add the 1 up top, which happens a lot. That's why we like to estimate to help us check our answer. So, I really should have gotten 647. And yes, I did that on purpose. Your teacher is not a dummy. So, 647 is a lot closer to 700 than 547. So, that really did help me see that I wasn't close at all to my estimate, and I made a mistake when I added. I forgot to add the 1 that I carried. So make sure you're checking over your work just like I showed you just now, okay? We don't want to do all that work and then get the answer wrong because we made one silly little mistake, okay? Now, I want you to notice as you're reading through these word problems, the words that you see in the questions. So let's look at 14. It says, which of these statements shows the best estimate? Again, we see estimate. Every time we see that word, you should be thinking in your head a number that's close. And how do we estimate? You estimate by either rounding or use compatible numbers. So remember, compatible numbers are numbers that go easily together in our head. So things that are compatible would be like peanut butter and jelly. They go well together. Coffee and donuts. Those go well together for breakfast. So compatible means it goes well together. And as far as math, they go together and they're also easy to do in our head. Okay? So as you work through these problems, make sure you're showing your work and using that IPAC we talked about at the very beginning of the video. Okay? Now, I'm going to know that you listened to this full video because in Seesaw, you're going to have to submit your answers for numbers 14, 15, 16, and 17 on page 110. Okay? This video really, the videos really are important, guys, so you know exactly how I want you to show your work and how I want you to do things in math, okay? Now, this is just part of your assignment, this page. Then you're also going to have to show me how you add and estimate with some problems I'm going to give you in Seesaw also, okay? So your job on this assignment is to, 1, estimate first, okay? Remember, estimating, we can round or we can use compatible numbers. Since all of these are in the hundreds place, that means you're going to be rounding to the nearest 100, okay? We don't need to round to the nearest 10, okay? So estimate, you're going to round or use compatible numbers first. Then you're going to find the sum, which means you're going to actually add the real numbers. And then you're going to tell me whether it's even or odd. So this is how I'll also know if you listen to the video, because I'm going over it right now what even and odd is in case you forget or forgot from 2nd grade. So even means it's going to end in a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. And when I say end, I mean in the ones place. That is the only place you look. You don't need to look at the tens, the hundreds, the thousands. Every single time we only look at the ones place. And if it's a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8, then that is an even number. Okay? Now odd. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Now if the ones place ends in a 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, then it is odd. So I want you to put those answers in the odd category, okay? So, 2 things for your assignment today. You're going to do the steps that I explained on this pink sheet that you see here. And you're also going to post a picture of your work that you did on page 110, okay? Very important that you follow all the directions and do what you're supposed to do so I don't have to send it back to you and you have to do it all over again, okay? Alright guys, I look forward to seeing how hard you work on this assignment and how awesome you have done listening to this video and practicing the skills that you've learned today.